Alright my friends, how you all doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a brand new episode of our Planet Zoo series, Hyland Zoo. And today we're going to crack on with another habitat build, and this is a big one. It's a long episode because it's a very complex build because of the way that I wanted to do it. Last episode though, my friends, if you missed that, is above right now. Do feel free to go and check that out. I do believe last episode was the Bongo Habitat and Maasai gift shop build. It was a bit of a double header because we had a bit of time to do so. So do feel free to go check that out, my friends, and do enjoy it if you've not yet seen it. Today we're actually building a Mandrill exhibit, and I know a lot of you are thinking, but you said you weren't going to do these, guys. I did, but I was inspired. Someone left a comment. I don't know if it was on last episode or the one before, but they basically said, you've said you're going to do the chimpanzees because you're aiming for conservation, but you're not going to do the mandrills. You need to go back and recheck their numbers and their situation. And actually, the mandrill is a vulnerable species in the wild, and I did not realise that. Now, I kind of picked this space, and I was going to put the chimps here. Then I thought to myself, actually, they're not going to fit because you're not going to get multiple viewing areas that I think we really need for the chimps. So then I thought to myself, well, what else have we got? Well, we've got the mandrills. They're a bit smaller. We might be able to make them work. And they worked an absolute treat where we're putting this exhibit. So basically, today's episode, you're getting a mandrill build. And this build is very, very unique. It's inspired by... it's not copied, it's just inspired by the bits and bobs that are on the lake in Dublin Zoo. Now, I went to Dublin Zoo years ago when I was a kid. God, it must be so long ago. I couldn't have been any older than 12 or 13 at the time. Went to Dublin with my grandparents. They actually lived in Ireland for a long time. My granddad is Irish. So we were over there on holiday. We went to Dublin Zoo, to cut a long story short. And I remember the monkeys having these little like cubby holes. That's what you're kind of seeing me build at the minute. It was this basically these boxes, and it had bedding in and a few little bits and bobs they could climb and jump about on. But what would happen was at the back they'd have these ropes that would go all the way from that all the way over to the main sort of island where they lived on the lake basically. And it was just a really fascinating idea. And when I was thinking about doing this enclosure, I remembered that. So I went online. I've got a few images up, and I think that I've kind of sort of created my own version of what they've got. This is a bit bigger, obviously. The scaling is very difficult to get right in Planet Zoo. That is one thing I am going to say. It's really difficult to get right. This hard shelter, to be fair, is big enough for the chimps. It's probably big enough for the gorillas. It really is a bit way too big for the mandrills, but I wanted them to have a space at the back as well as this smaller space at the front, because reason for that being the keeper can't get to the one that is going to be at the front that people look in. It's almost going to be sort of like a separate viewing area, the one at the front. The keeper can't get to that, so I wanted to make it one at the back as well. And plus we're going to have quite a few of these animals. I think we can have up to sort of 10, 11, 12 in a group in the game. So there's going to be quite a few of these little guys running around. So I wanted to make something that was going to be able to house all of them sort of like in the evenings when obviously all the animals are brought in. So that's basically what you can see me building at the moment. Now, it isn't as high as the gorilla one. I believe the gorilla hard shelter is 12 meters high. This is only 6, I believe, if I'm kind of working it out. So it's half the height of the gorilla one, but there is a bit that kind of ends up being put on the front that is slightly higher, that takes it up to about 10 meters. So it is quite vast, really, I guess, for the species, but I think it works, and it really sits in the environment nicely. And I think once I get all of the backlot foliage done and I get all of that area cleaned up as well, I think it'll sit where it is very nicely. So yeah, I'm actually really over the moon with the build. I kind of had this idea, like I say, I'd seen this sort of thing where it's like Monkey Islands kind of thing, and I wanted to try and give you my taste on that, really. they've got way too much room, to be fair, more than enough room. But a bit of my thinking was, if we're going to have a lot of them, then it's better to create a habitat that's too big rather than too small, and then be limited to the amount of animals we've got. Initially, we've only got 3. I had a problem with the animals when they first went in. One, I got one. It went in and it literally died the minute it walked into the exhibit. I really don't know what happened. I was clueless to it. So there was initially 4, but then there's now 3. So I'm just waiting for some really good ones to come up in the trading centre, or waiting for them to basically breed and have some babies. So yeah, that's essentially what we're doing today. That's where the idea comes from. And I really, really, really hope you guys like the build, and I really hope you like what we come up with at the end. Obviously, we're still trying to aim towards realism, so I am trying to keep that in mind. I understand where sort of monkeys and apes and stuff are concerned in zoos. The backlot area for them is almost like a maze of sort of tunnels and stuff that they take to get them into their night shelters and things like that. We obviously haven't been able to do that in this zoo, but we do have the backlot areas, and I think they kind of like speak true to themselves, is that, we're still getting, as we're basically remaining as realistic as we can, and when we can. We'll go for that hyper realism when I do my recreating series. I think we'll go for that ridiculous amount of detail in the backlot areas as well as in the front when we do our recreating series, because I think that it will lend nicely to it, because I'll be able to get all the source material. You have to understand, when I'm building these habitats and when I'm building all this stuff, I am going online and I'm getting some source material. I'm educating myself a little bit on the animals and stuff, but I understand that we're recreating these habitats to the needs of the animal as well. When we do the recreation series, we're going to turn all of that stuff off, because zoos do not really create habitats exactly as they would be in the wild for the animals. So we have to kind of keep these things in mind. But we're doing that in this zoo because we want the welfare of the animals to be very, very high. So it's a realistic zoo, but it's not ultra realistic. I think that's something I need to really kind of drive home at the minute, because a couple of people have said, I thought you were going for realism. I think you've missed the mark a little bit. And I do completely understand where people are coming from, but it's just realistic. It's not ultra realistic. I think when we go for that with the recreation, I think we'll smash it out of the park. On the subject of recreation, I dropped in last episode that I'm potentially thinking of doing a Chester Zoo recreation series, and I had a lot of positive feedback from you guys in the comment section about that series. So I think that Chester Zoo is going to be the one. Now, I understand that we can't do it like for like. We literally have something like 75 species, I think, in the game, plus all the exhibit animals. So we're way far on the mark of the amount of species that they've got in Chester Zoo. I also understand that Chester Zoo has about 35,000 animals. So yeah, it's a mad amount of animals, and we would never be able to get it to that level. You have to understand that it's that many because they have birds, bugs, amphibians, reptiles. There's so much stuff in the zoo. Now, obviously, we're waiting on more DLC. I'm really hoping we're going to get another DLC soon, because I don't feel like the game's stagnated at all. I just think some more animals would be nice. I just feel like but by that as well, I don't want any like big animals. I think we could do with a smaller animals pack, maybe 6 animals that are like a sloth, some small birds. I really think that would smash it out of the park, and I think it would really break it up a lot, because I just feel like the space requirements for the bigger animals do take up a lot of your zoo and stuff. And I think there are things that Frontier need to look at. As I've said, I haven't had really too much to say about the game that's bad. I really have enjoyed the game. I think that the building mechanics are great. My creativity can run wild. I think that the way the animals move and look, and the way that the way they use the habitats and stuff is really cool. I just think there's certain things they could add in. I think, like with the monkeys, for instance, I think they could add more animations. I'd like to see them hanging from stuff rather than just climbing and walking along things. I think hanging from stuff would be really, really cool. I think that I think that there's a few objects that are in the game at the minute that need to be made climbable. Like you're going to see on this this build, I put rope in initially because I thought rope was climbable for these monkeys, but they're not. So then I've had to change it to vines. And don't get me wrong, the vines don't look terrible, but I think the rope would have added to the realism. I just feel like that would have been a lot better in this sort of situation. So I think that a few things need to be changed where climbable is concerned. I think a few of the animals' habitat sizes need to be reconsidered as well, because zoos don't have the luxury of space, some zoos, and so they have to make smaller exhibits to get the animals in. I think that a real prime example of that would be like London Zoo's anteater exhibit. Most people don't even know it's there because it is just kind of like a little hard shelter and in a very small sort of outside area, and it's enough, more than enough room for the animal. But like, I think that there's just little bits and bobs I think that Frontier just need to look at and just iron out a little bit to really sort of bring the game up to sort of this sort of realistic, to get us, the creator, to get the zoos to as realistic a feel as we would like. Like I say, I still think it's a fantastic game. I just think there's a few little things that they could look at. I'm going to probably touch upon this like in the live section, but I attempted to build an insect house for today's episode. I completely scrapped it because I don't like the size of the boxed exhibits for the insects. I think they're too big. I think they're a great size for the reptiles. They're bigger. They do require a bit more space. But if anyone's ever been to an insect house, you can get multiple, exhibits on one wall. And so I actually think that that would be something I would really consider even leaving on Frontier's forum. Is a suggestion for them to have multiple sized exhibits from small to large. I think if you could make smaller ones for the insects, then I think that you could make ridiculously cool insect houses. But with the exhibits the way they are at the moment and the size they are, they just end up looking way too big, too garish, and I'm not even sure I'm going to put one in this zoo yet, because I am still trying to figure out a way to make the insect house look acceptable, I guess. I've got an idea, but it does mean that you kind of take away from the element of the exhibits. But I think where those are concerned, we don't spend much time looking in them anyway, so there might be a way around it. But I'm not. That's one thing I'm really not happy with, was that. The other thing I'm not happy with is the big seating areas, but someone did say to me you just need to build them very close to the restaurants. But again, realistically, the seats are not on top of where you buy your food, so I'm not sure. It's just a couple of things I think that need ironing out. It's not a moan, it's not a dig, because like I say, I really enjoyed the game, but I just feel like if they did these little things, they could take this game up another notch. So yeah, it would be amazing. Now, as far as sort of like DLC is concerned, I've already touched upon it. I've kind of said what I would like to see. I think that we either need like a birds pack or a small mammals pack. I think that would be really, really cool. Imagine stuff like a river otter, a beaver, the sloth, a couple of smaller monkey species like capuchins and stuff like that, gibbons. I think that would be a great addition to the game. I think you could make some fantastic stuff, especially if you had like a sloth and some smaller monkey species. You could do an indoor tropical sort of exhibit. I'd like to see bats as well. I'd like to see some nocturnal animals. I think they would be a great addition to the game. You could have a dark area. I'm thinking of London Zoo's tropical house now. The downstairs is like a dark area, and then you go upstairs and it's this ridiculously beautiful like tropical area where all the sloths and stuff live. I think we could create stuff like that in the game, then it'd be so cool. So that's what I'm kind of feeling. Now, in the comment section below, for the guys that play the game, or even the guys that are just interested in watching it, what sort of DLC would you like to see added next? Like, what sort of animals would you like to see included in it, and what are the big animals that like you would like to see in the game? Feel free to let me know. I love reading this stuff because I see it all the time. A lot of the videos I watch, people are commenting on stuff they'd like to see. There's one channel in particular I watch whose name I can't remember at the moment, but he puts these fantastic videos together of DLCs that they could make, and then he kind of cherry picks all the animals that he think would be ideal for it. Frontier need to watch those videos because he's essentially making your DLCs for you. He's giving you all the information. you just need to make all the animals and stuff. It's really, really cool it is. I love those videos. So yeah, do let me know your suggestions for future sort of animals to be put in the game. I really do feel like Planet Zoo is going to go a very similar way to that of Planet Coaster, in that we're going to get a lot of DLC, we're going to get a lot of additions. Obviously it's a bit more difficult, I would say, probably with Planet Zoo than it was Coaster, because with Zoo, the animal creation surely is a bit harder at getting their animations right and getting the exhibit numbers right and all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but yeah, I'd imagine it's going to take time. But if we get a lot of DLC, it'll be great, especially if we get a lot of new additions. But yeah, back to the speed build, ladies and gents. You're going to see that we're fannying around with this little sort of cubby hole viewing area section at the moment, just sorting out the roof and getting this all finished off and lovely jubbly. I think after this we kind of move on to the nitty gritty, all of the fence work, all of the rocks and plants, and getting it all looking beautiful. I did plant this up a fair amount because they do like a lot of coverage, but I think I was quite clever in the way that I did do the planting, so that the guests will always have a really good view of the animals. And obviously we have to remember that zookeepers need to be able to see the animals from multiple different viewpoints to make sure that everything's okay, as well as being able to access the exhibit from the back. So yeah, I feel like I've tastefully sort of got this right, and it ends up looking really, really cool. I had a few issues with this roof and wall pieces, and so yeah, the plaster pieces that are not on the grid have become my new best friend. I use them to make walls, I use them to fill gaps. They're an unbelievable piece. They really, really are. They are my favourite piece on the game. But yeah, you're going to see the sort of habitat perimeter going now. It's basically all null fence. We don't use any of the fencing for in the game. We basically go with all the rock, to make it sort of like a natural sort of habitat and exhibit, a bit like we did with the gorillas, and yeah, it ends up working out really, really well. And yeah, when this is finished, I think you're all going to be blown away. I really hope you're all blown away, because it was a lot of work, this one, and I was very tired after it. I'm doing this now, and I'm doing the live section after I record this audio the day after the build, because it really, really was a very intense one. 5 hours I think I was at it, because there was so much chopping and changing. I'd do one thing and I'd be like, oh no, don't like that, let's delete that, let's move this over. Then I'd realise that something didn't work, like the ropes for instance, and I'd change them out and put the vines in. Then you'd realise something else didn't quite work where it was, then the keepers couldn't get in. So yeah, it was just a very taxing build, a lot of chopping and changing, but a very rewarding one when we get to the end. And I can't wait for you to see it when we get to the lower section, sort of in its finished state. There's still little bits that need to be done, like all of the stuff around the edge. It's just time. The foliage and things like that. It's boring work, but it has to be done, because you do have to beautify things up, you have to hide backlot areas, you have to strategically place things. But yeah, after you've been building for 5 hours, the last thing you want to go and do is then have to place down 15 odd trees strategically to disguise the backlot area and things like that. So yeah, it was cool. I've enjoyed it. I'm enjoying this series, and I'm loving the channel. And a massive welcome to any of the new subscribers as well, because the last, I don't know, week and a half, I've had a massive influx of new subscribers. We are well on the road to 500, ladies and gents. I can't believe quite how quick the channel's growing. The comment section remains to be my favourite place, because you're all so nice about the things we're doing, and you're all so great with your suggestions, and yeah, you're an amazing bunch. You really, really are. But my friends, I think I am going to shut up now. I'm going to keep stum for the next, I don't know, 25 minutes or so. I'm going to let you guys enjoy the rest of this speed build. It's a long one, but I'll see you real soon for the live section of today's episode. Enjoy, my friends. Speak to you soon. And so here we are, ladies and gents, in the live section of today's video. I'm going to apologise right now for the way I look on camera. I've not long got out the shower. And yeah, I basically just threw some clothes on because I wanted to get this recorded so I could get it out to you guys. But yeah, this is it. This is the Mandrill's finished enclosure and habitat. It was a lengthy speed build today, but it was a very complex build. And I want to try and keep this live section as short as possible because I've not really done any other work other than this. I was feeling very uninspired, as I was saying in the speed build section of the video. And, you know, a lot of suggestions have been thrown at me, but I felt like there was just little spots and spaces in the zoo that needed filling first before I could crack on anywhere else. And the Mandrill was brought back to my attention because I did kind of like throw it to the wayside in last episode, and then someone left me that comment saying they're actually a vulnerable species, so I think you need to have a look. But yeah. Essentially, you would walk over the bridge, and you kind of met with this habitat. You kind of walk along here. I'm not sure if this is low enough for people to still see over. I'm hoping not, because this is where I would much prefer people to look at the animals in the habitat. So yeah, nice little section here for people to look at, and then they can walk over, and this is a very unique build, as I was kind of alluding to in the speed build section. And yeah, then there's this little, like, almost like little cubby hole for them to come over, and you know, when they're in here, people can come over and take a look. Now, obviously, we've only got 3 of them at the moment, but obviously there can be quite a few. I think up to 10 we can have. So I think once it packs out a bit, this might get used a lot more. They have used it. I've watched them use it, so that's really fantastic. I had to change the ropes to vines because I didn't realise is they don't use ropes to climb on. So Frontier, if you're watching, change ropes to climbable. I think that would be a really like clever thing to do, and I'd like the animations to change as well. I'd like them to like hang off the ropes as well as walk along them. I just feel like that would add a little something to the game. I really do need to get on Frontier's forum and leave some suggestions for things for them to look at. But yeah, this is the rest of the habitat. You know, it's exactly as you see it, sort of thing on the speed build. And then you come up here. I've just cleaned these little windows up at the top, so this is another way that they can come out of there. I put some sleeping bits and bobs up the top here as well, and then we go inside. Obviously you see me put in all these windows and stuff, and then we go inside, and this is where, you know, they would spend their evenings inside. Yeah, I believe they're all in here at the moment. He's chopping through the wall. That's very strange. I don't know why that's happening. Yes, look, that's very weird, isn't it? Don't know why that's happened. One of them's enjoying some food, but yeah, they come through the door. You know, ordinarily this would be a lot smaller, this door, but we have to allow for the staff to get in and out. So yeah, that's the reason why that's been done. And yeah, it was a very taxing build because I wanted it to be very unique. I wanted to have this here. I also wanted to do this sort of raised area that they could climb up to and walk out of. And I think that once we get a few more animals in, like I say, it will become very, very active. And yeah, I think it'll be a really cool little habitat to look at. Now, obviously, I've done some of the work around the edge, just the main bits, just so I could beautify it a little bit, ready for, you know, today's episode. But obviously, I will go away, do some more work. I've got to do the back lot area. I need to sort of work all this in. I'm basically going to take all the pavement up to these edges, and then I'm going to do like little crosswalks here, and then I'm going to have to take make like a fake path that would run all the way along this side of the road up to here, basically, to complete the backlot area. But yeah, I think that would be really, really cool. And then the reason why I've gone off this way is obviously because we're going to go up into the African area, which is going to be sort of sitting all here. Basically, it's going to take up a lot of room, the African area. So yeah, I wanted to take this road off so we could have another hub essentially for the African area. Now I have started thinking about other exhibits and habitats. I'm holding off on the giraffe, zebra and the lion ones. Basically, I need to fill gaps in before I can build them, because I tried building the lion one and it was way too big, and I really need to scale it back. But I think a lot of the problem is this open space doesn't help. So I've got a few other ideas I want to do. The other thing I do just want to say is that I'm not sure if I'm going to do an insect house now. I really did plan on doing one, and I attempted to build one, and that was going to be today's episode. But what I don't like is that the insects exhibits are the same size as the reptile ones, and the insects for me just get lost in there. And if you go to any insect house, they're smaller. So that's something else I'm going to put forward to Frontier, is see if they can make different sizes of the exhibits, the small boxed exhibits. If they can make a few different sizes of them, especially for the insects, I think we could actually get insect houses that are a bit more realistic, because after I made it, it was just so big and it took up so much room, and it didn't look nice. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do an insect house in this zoo. If I can get around it, if I can work a way around it to make it look a bit nicer, then I'll think about it. But for now, it's a no-no. But we'll just see what happens, basically, where that's concerned. But yeah, I think I will just leave you with the image of this beautiful new habitat in the zoo as we sign on out. I don't know what next episode will have. There's a lot of animals that you guys have been suggesting to me. I'll do my best to try and bring you one that you really want to see. I've got a few bits and bobs I need to sort out in the zoo, beautification and gaps I need to fill, but I'm sure you'll have a brand new episode probably within 2 or 3 days, the way it's kind of been trucking along at the moment. So do look forward to that, my friends. As I always say, get involved in the comment section with anything you want to say, any suggestions you've got for yours truly. If you're brand new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel. Drop a like on it if you've enjoyed it, and hit that bell notification button to never miss an upload. But my friends, for another episode, I am done and dusted. You make sure you stay an extra, and I'll see you next time.